Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very interesting fireside chat on leveraging competency-based learning to develop an effective pedagogy in future of work. I'm Pooja Bothra, Senior Content Lead at ETHR World and your host for this session. Please allow me less than 2 minutes to set the context and welcome the esteemed speakers to this virtual platform for an energizing session. The context. The pace of digital transformation is creating a competency gap in the workforce. The hard truth is that no matter how tenured or educated your workforce is, it needs coherent skilling ecosystem to remain valuable to the organization. To that point, ETHR World and StratBeans have come together to put LXP in the spotlight and learn from the industry experts how digital learning is playing a critical role in creating a learning culture to cultivate individual and organizational creativity, adaptability, and resilience. The experts in this panel are Chela Pandian Pichai, Head Talent Learning and Organization Transformation, Biocon Biologics; Sudakshina Bhattacharya, CHRO HDFC Ergo General Insurance; Rohit Dang, E-Learning and Creative Head. Welcome to this panel, speakers. I would also like to welcome the audience. A very warm welcome to you. We will make this session very interactive for you, so please use the chat tab to share your thoughts and questions. We won't wait for the last bit to take your questions. We will be taking your questions right from the middle of the session. So please pour in your questions for the esteemed panel. Welcome once again, panel and viewers. My first question is for Chela and Sudakshina. Both of you represent different industries with one common factor: digital disruption. The disruption has impacted competencies and skill expectations. It'll be great if you share a sectorial overview on changing jobs and skills in your industry. We'll go with Sudakshina first and Chela to follow. Over to you, Sudakshina.
Hi, Pooja, and good evening, everyone else who's here, and the esteemed fellow panelists, Chela, Rohit. Lovely meeting you here on this panel. So Pooja, your question about the disruption in this industry and hence, what are the skills that are going to stay relevant or will be required? So let me answer it in two parts. One very briefly about what are these disruptions. So I was reading somewhere that one of the industry leaders mentioned that, insurance companies are these days being also tagged as digital companies selling insurance. So that kind of really turns the whole plot of insurance industry on the head and say, hey, we are no longer brick and mortar, insurance organizations, but we are so digitally enabled that this industry can pretty much be repositioned as an industry which has products which is about insurance, but everything else around it, so the veins and the arteries of the industry is so digital that it is a digitalized industry. And that causes disruption. It is so the way it's sold, the way the distribution network works, the way the customers are serviced, everything has changed. It was a very different decade. Last decade was very different, where a lot of physical interaction in terms of the customers and employees was warranted. But it's completely gone, especially the last 18 months, the way we've seen the world, everything has pretty much happened virtually. There are artificial intelligence enabled service mechanisms. There are bots which are interacting, the bots which are anticipating what the client needs, producing codes, creating revenue models, whatnot. So does that challenge me as a human employee? If it doesn't challenge me right now, it's better that I allow it to challenge me, because it will be. And just to quote that you must have seen in the media that, our organization welcomed a family of bots as employees last week. And that's exactly how work is going to be. It will be a hybrid kind of a work culture where the colleague sitting next to me may not be human, maybe actually a bot. So those are some of the disruptions. I mean, I can go on, but I will leave the flow for Chela to respond to your questions, Pooja, and I'll come back and build on it as we move forward. But thank you for giving the opportunity in the first place.
No, it's a pleasure, Sudakshina. And I'm just, just wondering, when you talk about that the person sitting next to you might as well be a robot in future. So, how disruptive will HR be to have incentives and, motivational plans for humanoids? So, that's going to keep HR very busy. Chela, over to you to understand what kind of disruption is happening in your industry, and biotechnology is also booming at this point of time. So a lot of interesting facts, I'm sure, will come out of that from you.
Hey, thank you, Pooja, and thank you everyone for the opportunity. And it was a great start by Sudakshina, and I will build on that, and also what you said about humanoids. 2 years back, I was talking to a forum in Malaysia. Then I was redefining HRD as human robots department. Probably that's where we will land in future, right? The HRD will remain as human resources department, but what we'll be managing is human robots department. So it's not going to be too far to have robots in important work which we do in HR, whether it is coaching, interviewing, or sitting in boardroom. And it's not going to be too far to have robots sitting on our behalf. I wouldn't call it as they will replace us, but they can sit on our behalf and manage things. But still, we will have the remote in us, because it will be too far to aspire that we will be eliminated where robots will come and do everything. So taking that as a context, speaking specifically biotechnology and pharmaceutical industry, the digital enhancement has always been there, but not much spoken outside the industry. For example, if you're looking at drug discovery, it's not possible without digital being an integral part of the discovery process. For many decades, right? We're talking about molecular biology. Simulations are done using the digital aspects. Digital has enhanced the speed, the efficiency, the efficacy for many, many decades. But as the digital advancement is happening in the industry, the new technology and new versions have come into pharma, or at least in the drug discovery space. So that way, the adoption of technology was there for many, many years, especially if you're in a discovery space. But the adoption has increased over the years, and especially last 2 years with the pandemic, that has kind of accelerated the adoption in, say, sales team, right? If you're going and meeting a doctor, there's more a manual process. Go meet a doctor and give a product detailing to the doctor, help to understand the product. The conversation between doctors and medical reps used to be manually done. Today, with the last 12 to 14 months, a lot of technology adoption is happening in that space where we thought that that is not possible. It's a mind shift, right? And in fact, technology disruption and the adoption is all about mind shift than the real challenges around that. So I'll stop there and we can continue as the conversation goes.
Very valid points, Chela, out there. Rohit, I'd like to go to you and ask you that, you have multiple partners from the industry. So what kind of strategies are you doing with your partners to plug the skill gap?
Okay. So thank you so much, Pooja. And firstly, let me say, Mr. Chela and Ms. Sudakshina have very clearly put forth various aspects of kind of disruption that has impacted competencies, and especially the hybrid work culture that Ms. Sudakshina mentioned. And I really like the part where, Mr. Chela said about the human robot department. So let me just talk about my industry and talk about StratBeans. So StratBeans is a market leader in solutions which range from wing to wing. So firstly, we have solutions and services in all areas of learning and development agenda. And it could be onboarding, technical training, sales trainings, behavioral trainings, or even reskilling or future skilling. Now, then we provide variety of technologies and infrastructure products. So our content authoring technology is, it's used by more than 100,000 global customers. So this is used for creating not only e-learnings, but also, games and highly interactive videos with audio-visual annotations. So if the customers require support in creating fresh content, then they can tap our delivery centers in India, where we have highly skilled workforce, which can range from instruction designers, creative designers, and even business analysts. So, and then we have this group which we call the Intelligent Products Group. So they offer smart learning management and performance support technologies, and we have over 150 large multinationals that we are serving. Now, this intelligent, products group has seen a very high traction in the last 18 months. So this is in line with the emerging industry needs, like the panel also mentioned, of remote learning and work from home operations. So some of the most popular technologies in this area are intelligent sales enablement platform. So this creates more confident sales force by giving smart role play environments in which these sales professionals can practice real life sales scenarios and even get valuable experiences while working from home. And then there is performance support platform, and this is called as Ask Expert. Now this improves the way the employee performs. So the employee performance is the employee has all the information available to him just in time, and as and when they need it most, it's just available to them. So finally, there's also a very comprehensive LXP 4.0 platform, which optimizes all the available sources of learning and development. So it serves as your central focal point of knowledge management, and it also enables skill distribution. So as we're talking about skills and competencies, this LXP 4.0 actually integrates all the formal as well as informal learning environments and connects all the external and internal resources of knowledge, including the learning management systems. So LXP comes in and becomes your organization's skill facilitator, and it acts like the organization's brain. So LXP 4.0, it kind of uses again AI algorithms and also benefits from our R&D that we do on mobile and online content delivery, and this helps in optimization of technologies. Now, I would like to state that our R&D center, which is based out in Bangalore, we spend around 7% of our entire revenue on just research and development. So we are helping our customers not only face the emerging challenges, but also to thrive in it and become more competitive in that way.
It's very interesting to see the amount of research that is going in creating relevant content by learning companies, and how closely you're working with industry to plug the skill gap. Sudakshina, I'll go to you and ask you. Definitely, we understand the need of the art is to nurture creative workforce who are ever ready to challenge traditional processes, especially in the financial sector, as you already pointed out. We all know it's facing severe competition from tech-focused startups. We have also seen that when the workforce have at their disposal a personalized skilling roadmap with clear-cut milestones of focused goals, enabling them to charter ahead, gaining both distance and direction. they will be motivated to reskill and upskill constantly. So how are you using digital tools, or what kind of learning ecosystem have you created in your organization?
Which is somebody was mentioning, I think it was Chella who mentioned that, disruption and what happens after that is actually a transformation of mind, and many things related to that. So I would say in our company, the emphasis in the last few months, ever since it's a return to work from work or from office, we are looking at how we can make learning attractive, entertaining, and learning as well. So what we realized that there is a virtual fatigue that a lot of people have been facing in the last few months of working from home, and meetings, virtual meetings running late into the day and stuff like that. So we said, why not we look at clubbing or converging entertainment and learning in such a way that it's not viewed as a burden. So one of the things that has worked quite well, and it's been received very well, is bite-sized Netflix kind of learning, self-paced, small contents, attractive contents, interactive, assessment built, so that it's not just a tick in the box that I've completed so many modules, but there is an assessment built in the module, so the organization assured of some, at least some portion of the knowledge being retained and applied. And then, of course, the whole curriculum around it. So that was one. The second that we saw, though there's a fatigue of people attending to programs virtually, but still we've felt that people are a little more accepting of VILT, the virtual instructor-led program compared to classrooms. And also I saw a lot of partners, and I think Rohit would agree, being the head of the organization, a lot of partners are also becoming more welcoming when we say that it's a virtual partnership, and you don't have to really have trainers to attend a program physically or travel, all of that. And then the third leg, which is actually from the employer side and from companies like Stradbeans, is also that there is a huge freedom in terms of the commercials. I mean, one can get far, far more from a program proposition, given the same commercials, because it's, the entire frills around it is not there. The employees can attend to it at their convenience of either being based in the same office or taking it from home. And, it's like, we've also said that the days that you have to invest in the program, you can pretty much work from home that day. So these things are small, but these are cultural transitions in a lot of ways. And these make learning convenient. So just imagine from a perspective, one end of the scale is that, tomorrow I have a training program and I have to go to so-and-so city and I have to attend the program there, versus today, I've been told that I can work from home and I have to log in for 4 hours to be in this program, and it's going to be virtual. And a follow-through of the program, you can do it on your mobile, because it's, this Netflix-style, bite-sized, self-paced learning. So I think the transformation transition is mine, that learning is not something that I'm doing because the company is telling me to do, but learning is something that I'm doing because I'm really enjoying the way the content is being produced to me. And the disruption and, the changes and, transformation, all that we're talking about is this journey from when it was something that was forced upon me to now I really enjoy doing it. Of course, it's not a journey which happens overnight, but organizers keep working on it. But this is a journey which is worth taking, because it's a beautiful journey. And it works both ways between employer and the employees. So, sorry, a long answer to the question, but so I'll just stop here.
So Dakshana, there is also an audience question. You've kind of touched upon it already, but Ashish Junjunwala is asking, how can you make learning more interesting and effective for learners? Vanilla online learning does not create a learning pool. So Ashish is asking that, and I'm sure he'll be thrilled if you answer it.
Sure, Ashish. So I will say what I can say from the point of conviction is, before creating a content, it's important to understand the audience's expectation of the content. That was my first thing. Second is pilot always works. So something's been created, socialize it with a close group of people, and anticipate and get the feedback that's required before rolling out to the others. Thirdly, if the organization is really mindful about creating an effective learning, then it will not be a program which is off the shelf available for everyone. One size does not fit all. So when I was talking about this bite-sized Netflix kind of learning that we have in HDFC Ergo, they're actually customized content. So we have multiple SBUs or business verticals, and the content that we've put out is a customized content for the health SBU or a motor SBU or a leadership or things like that. So there's always everything. There's always something for everyone. And yes, Ashish, I couldn't agree more that learning can be very boring if the same thing is being put out there and forced for everyone to learn. The more customized and the more, as I said, the fusion of making it entertaining and learning, I think that fusion really works well with people. Ashish, I hope I've answered your question.
There is a term called edutainment, which is education plus entertainment. So that is another innovation taking place in learning. Rohit, you can make a note of that. So Sudakshina, I just want to ask you one more question. I don't want to make you breathless, but how do you, create content which will find, different generations, appealing for different generation? Like, how do leaders want to learn? Absolutely senior leaders. Does bite-sized learning interest them? So if you can share some perspective on, differentiated learning amongst different ages.
So Pooja, I would answer it in a way that, creating that learning mindset is the first step towards any kind of learning, whether it is forced learning by the organization or self-paced learning or, learning by my own interest or by anyone's own interest and stuff like that. So I think, and the learning mindset is a key pivot of the organization culture. Hence, if it is not driven from the top, it's unlikely that it is going to reach, the employee at the last mile is going to feel as, as passionately about learning. So that's, I would like to say from there that this has to be from the top. My sample that I have used, everyone's a human being, doesn't matter which level in the hierarchy they are. Anything that is served in that space of, making it interesting, and at the same time, there's something new that one learns. I think people receive across the hierarchy. I have not seen anything averse or anything, negative spike there. As I said, that it's important to just recognize and acknowledge that we all are human beings, and there are certain, guiding principles of human behavior. So I think if some of those things are plugged, doesn't matter where the employee is in the hierarchy, pretty much the response are likely to be, consistent. Yes, we did create modules which are about leadership, especially about, the global topics like empathy and compassion in leadership. How to be an inclusive leader. Some of these topics are pretty well received by the leaders in an organization. So as I said, the moment you make it interesting and the moment there's something for people to take, so the content is really the king. And if content is really the one to shine in those, in the learning modules or programs, I think there are takers. I can say this from my own experience.
Interesting, Sudakshina. And I agree, wherever you are in the pyramid, you need to learn if you don't want to become a dinosaur. So learning must go on. And definitely, these human skills, as we call them, empathy, resilience, agility, critical thinking, are equally important, not only, digital skills. Chela, I'll go to you and I'll ask you the same question. How are you creating a learning ecosystem in your organization?
Thank you. It was very interesting to listen to Sudakshina and her thoughts and insights around the importance given to learning and learning becoming part of the ecosystem, and it's driven from the top. So to build on that, I think learning is not specific to industry. I think it's common as for every organization. It is agnostic to the industry. Having said that, in the space where I am from, the learning is driven those days by diversity, and today the learnings are, or the future, the learnings are driven by curiosity. Let me explain that in a minute. The diversity driven learning is, as an individual, when I look at my learning quotient or when I look at my learning needs, it is predominantly what I've learned and what I want to learn. And a couple of decades back, it's a known space where you want to learn, because there are very few things there, and you know what you've learned and what you want to learn. But as the years passed, the technology disruption or the generation disruption, which multiple generations in the workforce, you see the needs are changing. The needs are faster than expected. And it's no more a diversity driven where I know this, I want to know this, because it's like every other day you see there is something new coming, like phones, right? The new version is always there. So you want to become a new version of yourself. And there are a lot of curiosity. You want to know something. There are so many things happening around you. So the curiosity cells have to be completely activated for you to be in that space of knowing more. Then I used to say this, even today morning, there was a design thinking workshop as I was coaching my leaders in biocon biologics. I was talking about this 20 years back. I'm not sure how many of you can resonate with this. The companies or the organization used to give membership card in a library, like British Library or any library, for some of the senior folks. It's a part of the perk or a benefit, right? So the knowledge was restricted to certain people. So the learning has to be always look up to your managers, leaders, when you have a doubt, and they will either know the answer or they will go to the place like library where there is an answer, they'll come back to you. That's the learning process. It was a very hierarchically driven learning process. It took time. Today, the knowledge is no more a differentiator because it's there. You go to YouTube, you go to Google, you get to see abundant of information. Now for you, one, we need to know which is the right information so that you can learn the right things, because there are abundance of information. Second, what do you do with what you know? That's become a differentiator than knowing by itself. So that is how we look at learning. Learning is about not knowing, right? And can you do something with your learning? Can you bring an outcome? So hence, I say the diversity-driven learning to curiosity-driven learning. I think that's the shift we are seeing in our industry and especially in our company as well. Let me pause there and then build on based on some of the questions which are there.
I'm sorry, Chella, I won't let you pause for too long because there is an audience question for you. Raj Shekhar is asking, how frequently should the competency dictionary be revised and updated?
It's a brilliant question, Raj Shekhar, and I had lots of thoughts around this with some of the experts in the competency space as well, because we are reimagining the competency, revisiting our competency at Biocon Biologics as well. So the competencies need not change if the role is not changing or the individual who's doing the role is not changing. Because let's go to the fundamental of competency, right? Competency is defined based on to do a job. The how part is competency, the what part is job, and the result of what you've done is your performance, right? So if the competency has to change, the role has to change. It means the business is evolving. So there is a new competency requirement to do that job. For example, digital disruption, right? So digital is enabled, solutions are there. So you got to do the same job faster than it was done in the past. So you need to know the digital competencies there. Hence, the competency is changing for the same person in the same job, same role, but the need of the job is changing. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is I have promoted to a next level of role. So my competency for that role is what I need to change, or I need to adopt those competencies, because my existing competency not necessarily will help me to be successful in the next level of promoted role. But if business is not changing, role is not changing, there is no digital disruption or any other disruption, competency can remain same, and I can have the same competencies, do the same job for years. So that's my perspective to the question.
Thank you, Chella. Thank you so much for answering that. Rohit, you brought about the concept of LXP. So my question to you is, what role can LXP play for a robust learning ecosystem in the industry?
Okay, so that's a wonderful question, first of all. So let me put it in this way. So LXP makes the learning management more intuitive. It takes away most of the known, inefficiencies of the current, knowledge transfer process. So, for example, it allows those various constituencies to work closely, and it kind of engages the entire organization. So, not just the HR or enabling functions. So, for instance, it allows the strategic management to define the direction in which the skills and knowledge of the organization should move. And how is it done? So this is done by just punching in the desired state of competencies. And from that point, machine learning takes over and it starts serving those automated recommendation and learning interventions. And it's done for each learner, based on a very precise understanding on those individual learning needs. Now, so while the top managers can see the real progress of these, skill programs on a very detailed heat chart, at the same time, these operational leaders can, use LXP for for onboarding the skills for projects and for live performance support. And when I talk about live performance support, uh, these features in LXP are a very important component of LXP 4.0, and it kind of helps employees perform better and get help. And if they're stuck in their actual task, they can actually ask for help, and this increases their productivity and also gives a better experience to the customers. Now, a lot of organizations are focusing on healthcare and mental health, and most importantly, with LXP, it reduces stress. So you actually kind of reduce the performance anxiety for an employee because they can relax. They can always tap on virtual intelligence that's available in LXP 4.0. Now, with using LXP, the training team can also curate content. So they can actually curate content from free resources. They can use YouTube. They can actually set up an entire channel on the learning marketplace that's available within LXP. So there's a way they can link all the internal sources, such as the organization's learning management system, the knowledge management system. If they are using third-party paid content platforms such as Skillsoft or MOOCs platform, one that comes to my mind is Coursera. Okay, so finally, we all know that the digital content creation takes a long time, and it's pretty expensive, and the vendors can charge you a bomb because it has multiple milestones to conquer, right? Multiple resources from storyboarding to alpha, beta, golden, voiceover. So this platform actually gives you those tools which the subject matter experts can use themselves, and they can create content directly without any dependence on content developers. And the SMEs do not require too much skill or even training to do that. Now, so that I'm talking about SMEs, once these SMEs have created content in a new and a very powerful paradigm, which is actually riding on the need of engaging subject matter experts while they're still within the organization. And isn't it kind of ironic to attribute lost skills to attrition, while you're underutilizing the opportunity to engage the subject matter experts who act as an active participant in content creation while they're still there. So I've seen school students, they're curating content on informal channels, and if they're industry professionals, they're actively contributing to LinkedIn groups. So inspiration is already there. All we need to do is offer a very suitable technology and a lot of encouragement to those who step up. And this is exactly what LXP 4.0 does.
Thank you, Rohit, for that. There is an audience question from Manisha. And Rohit, she's asking you, what's the role of trainers as such anymore that now that most learning content is virtual? Isn't it true that the need for instructional designers is more in these times than there is for L&D professors, especially trainers?
That's actually very true, because whenever you start with a program for learning and development, instructional designers are experts in adult learning. They know their audience, they know what they want, they know the basic principles of how a human brain of a particular domain works. So professors act as subject matter experts who can impart information, but instruction designers know a correct sequence, or probably the correct way to impart that learning that they want to give to the users. And this can be, again, instruction designers can decide on whether to give small nuggets or a big piece of information at once. Either it should be videos, or it should be in a form of interactive learning. Now, there are several principles around instruction design, which is probably it works on the ADDIE principle, but there are Gagne's and Bloom's taxonomy, which actually is dedicated to specific processes, specific learnings for specific kind of audiences. So professors and as subject matter experts can always give you the right amount of information. They're like an open book, so they can give you all the information that you need, and instructional design can build upon it. So I'll say both of them are important, and they play their role in their own way.
Lakshana, going to you, I would like to ask you what are some of your biggest challenges in implementing your L&D strategy?
So Pooja, I think the common challenge across industries that I've seen is that transformation of mindset. Because learning, for some strange reason, is always viewed as the company mandating me to learn something. So my sincere submission to the audiences would be that, listen, it has to start with me. So what am I doing to invest in my career by learning new things? And then if I do that, then I can inspire the people, who are around me, or influence the people who are around me. And especially an enabling function like Chela and Rohit was saying as HR, where training usually is a part of, the HR mandate. So how are HR people leading or walking the talk when they say that, upskilling, reskilling, learning new things, having a learning mindset is important? Nothing works better than having a real example. I remember Chela was mentioning that, when he coaches people, that he's invested in being a coach. And I'm sure when he would want to execute learning strategy or around coaching, he can say that from the space of conviction. I think one of the most important challenges, I would say, are, and I'm saying this in public forum, are HR folks ourselves. Because we're very good at standing there and, wanting everyone else to execute the organization strategy of learning except our own selves. So to me, that would be the biggest challenge, that who is that core team of people who are really walking the talk as far as learning is concerned. And second, of course, in large scale organizations, connecting the last employee at the last mile to this whole esoteric learning plan or curriculum that we guys are so passionate about it as HR to design. How do I plug that gap? Who are my people who are champions who will really, make sure that this is carried through to the person on the last mile, and he or she understands that why is it important for me to learn and how is it contributing to the organization? So it's usually most of the things are simple, but while executing, things become complex, and because then there are not real champions to say that, I learned the skill, or what, I upskilled myself in this, and this is how it impacted me in my career, and also it impacted the organization. So where are those success stories, the learning champions within the organization? So, these are some of the basic, simple things, if these are missed out, is when the challenges are magnified, and then it becomes a huge thing. But yes, it's not linear. I appreciate and I understand, in my experience in the industries tell me that, this is not a linear process. It's web, it's complex. But I would say that some of the complexities is because if we have the conviction to stand on that stage and say, hey, listen, I did this and this is how it impacted my career in a positive way, I can say that to it for yourself. But till I can't say that, and I just go and say, listen, you have to complete 5 mandates because the company wants you to do it, I mean, that's the biggest challenge. So I don't know what our composition, Pooja, today, whether we have all HR folks or this combination of people, but I would say any of you who are people manager or a team manager or a part of an enabling function which owns learning, please make sure that it starts, charity begins at home, start with yourself. You'll face much lesser challenges while executing and implementing, learning curriculums within an organization.
Thanks, Sudakshana, for that. And maybe a little later, I'll come to you and ask you what are those new age skills that HR needs to own. Chela, I'll go to you and I want to ask you, can your L&D strategy help you in your inclusivity agenda? Also, what kind of reskilling and upskilling opportunities are you creating for your non-payroll staff? And to that, also, I'll add that, India is a very diverse country. We have tier 2, tier 3 cities, wherein also we have a large chunk of employees from there. So sometimes the learning and the content that is available for learning could be very suitable for, the urban bred employees more than the tier 3 employees. So, can learning be used for inclusivity?
Absolutely. And I think it's an important question to reflect on. One, from the perspective of inclusivity. Second, from the perspective of how effective we are in getting the learning across the last mile in the organization. Because we are dealing with different type of people, different level of maturity. And also in our case, we have people from different countries. We have a huge workforce in Malaysia, and then also in the other countries, which may not be as huge as Malaysia, but we do have the presence across, which is managed by Bangalore as headquarters. So hence the learning needs need to be customized, if not personalized, but at least customized for a group of people who are sitting in different culture or different countries. So there are 3 things we do, right? One, the mind shift. The mindset is the biggest problem in learning, which is what the research says. And that's what we've also seen in this industry or in many organizations. The mindset is who's owning the learning. There's 3 people come into picture. For some people, it is organization is owning the learning and I'm part of it, experiencing it. For some of the employees, they say it's my manager's job to train me and he or she is nominating and hence I'm going through. It's more of the need driven by my manager. Third set of people say, it's me. I'm responsible for my development. It's my curiosity drives me for this learning. And hence, I reach out to my organization and my leaders and ask if I don't get help. If they don't give, there are a set of people who say, I will invest my own money and get into the learning space. I've seen so many people. Not that company was not willing, but I'm talking about different companies, right? Where company was having a structured talent development program where the investment was going to one set of people, probably the top talent categories. But there are individuals who said, it's fine, I will invest on my own money to learn because I want to be there. The aspiration was bigger than whether company gives or somebody else gives, right? So these all driven from fact that is there a mindset, is there a shift which organization needs on mindset, which is nothing but belief shift. Second issues which we have seen in the challenges in learning and then which we are trying to solve. Last year we focused on you can't have one fit learning solutions for the organization. At the same time, we are not yet there to personalize learning, which LXP can provide. An artificial intelligence driven the future, I'm visualizing that each of us have our own chatbots or our own artificial intelligence driven tool where we go on, type your employee code, it says your last learning was this year and this was your coaching and these are the points which was discussed and this is your track record and this is your learning history and this is where your coaching needs were and this is where you have led to, or this is where you are, your current status, and this is your commitment for next 2 weeks. So that level of tracker and personalized coaching or personalized learning solution providing options are there, which some of us are there in as an organization, some of us are getting in there. So we're also looking at, can we get into that level? Because as I said at the beginning, it's not about how much you learn, it's about what you do with your learning. So hence, we started focusing on creating a platform where your learnings are exercised, your learnings are practiced. And there are some questions from Payal and Sanjay also was relating to that, right? So what we have done is learning is great, but what do you do with what you've learned? Is there a platform in the organization, right? And that's where even design thinking, there was one question on design thinking by Mohammed. So I'm trying to address that with this, with the point that design thinking allows you to practice your learning because it's a sequential process and it goes for few weeks to months and before you get the result. So you've learned design thinking and then you start applying with the projects and then continue to exercise that. So you see a great level of engagement on people who have learned. And then there is something called Innovation Cloud. I'll talk about it later, but which captures some of this work within the organization. So you're able to track what happened in the past. So you don't repeat the same mistake and you learn from previous experience and build it on. So I think in summary, we need a belief shift, number one. Secondly, a platform, an environment to practice your learning. Many organizations provide learning, but not a platform. So I think that's where we are focusing on.
Thanks, Chela, for answering my as well as the viewers' questions. Thank you so much for that. Rohit, the question for you is LXP only preferred by millennials or is it also popular among senior leaders?
So when we talk about LXP 4.0, it actually, it kind of generates a personalized experience and therefore it ends up serving all possible segments. So when I talk about, let's just talk about younger guys first. Okay, so younger guys get recognition and a chance to participate in internal knowledge sharing because they may have a certain skill which they can share with others. So what happens? The LXP 4.0 has a coaching platform which promises to keep the coaches a thought away. So the hand holdings is much more prompt and it's actually manageable through the platform. And secondly, the micro learning capability of LXP, so which is actually called pill a day. So it's very popular among these younger employees. Perhaps they have a better appetite for shorter courses because the attention spans are going down. And in fact, social media and YouTube shorts and Instagram reels and all of that. So it's a pill a day is something that suits them as well. And when we talk about, the tenured employees, for tenured employees, the biggest risk is the depreciating value of their CV. So there is a saying that, the experts have a small shelf life in the massively digital business environment. So the ability to get expertise on missing skills or future skills is very helpful. And in this situation, for tenured employees, it works wonders. So there's this marketplace in the system, and the marketplace consumption reports actually show that there's higher utilization for tenured employees there. So yeah, so that's how different groups react to it.
Agree. Chela, the question for you is that how do you align your L&D strategy to the overall business objective? So are there some metrics you follow or yeah?
Great. So this was my last 100 days work in my new role. I came from strategy, innovation, role to heading talent and the learning and organizational transformation. So the first 100 days, my focus was in terms of linking all these pieces together, because I felt it's all identified as individual initiatives, but it is all for one common purpose, which is nothing but it can be largely linked to your vision. In our case, we wanted to reach out to billions of patients. So that's the only reason we all together as Biocon Biologics employees, to transform people's life through our medicines. So that's a larger purpose. But individually, when you break it down, there is an organization goal, there is yearly goals, and there is individual goals, there is a functional goals. So first, the goals are linked to the business imperatives or business priorities. So that every organization does it. Every successful organization does it, right? So that's aligned. Now, my individual goal setting has to be aligned to where the organization wants to go. Otherwise, I'm in a different track versus organization is going in a different track, which I'm sure everybody agrees that that has to be linked. So if that becomes the base, your goal setting, from goal setting, you have clear goals for the year. Now, the next is, you know why you're setting those goals, which is linked to organization vision or business priorities. Second, you know that is important for your function, so that hence those goals are important. Third, for you to be successful in that your role, you have to have the individual goals aligned to this. So now the what part is also done. The third important part is how. How will I do that? What competency I require and what training I require, right? Especially if I know my competency and the competency gap to do my job, that's where the training comes into picture. Because I don't want to go and do training for sake of training. If there is a gap, we will focus on that. If there is no gap, we will build on your existing competency until there is a need for upskilling or a new skilling, right? Otherwise, if people are good at what they're doing and they're happy with that, you need to just create an environment for them to practice it and be successful there, right? So that's where our focus, competency, training, it's linked to the goal setting. And eventually this is measured by half-yearly or annual performance. So the entire cycle is linked to the PMP process, which is performance management process, and that is linked to the business objectives. So if this model, and again, the research says this model, when I say research, it's the best practices from different organizations from different countries. This model works better because nothing is in isolation. Everything's on a need basis, which is all linked to the business objective. And this seems to be a very comprehensive and proven method. But there are many other ways of doing it. There are a lot of innovations around this, but I'm just sharing what research said it as a proven method.
No, this Chela looks like a really comprehensive and innovative practice that you shared with us. I'm sure the viewers are really benefiting from all the insights that you all are sharing. So Dakshina, going back to you, I would like to ask you some new age future skills that HR needs to own, as well as there is a viewer question for you. If someone wishes to become a L&D professional in an organization, I think we've lost Sudakshina. So Sudakshina, there's an audience question also for you. If someone wishes to become a L&D professional in an organization, what all should they be reading, hearing, watching to get there?
Oh my God, this is quite a question, Pooja. I think what they should be reading, I think what everybody should be reading is a book called The Little Prince. I don't know if I can tell from your smile that you have, and then you would know that why am I saying it, but for the benefit of everyone else who's here. It is such a beautiful book which talks about human beings. And I think for an L&D professional, it's first important to understand, the core of what lies, what are highest common factors of being a human being, what drives the behavior, what makes people prefer what they prefer, and so on and so forth. And what is really at the frontal cortex, at the, what is the brain on the right and left. And I'm not getting into all of that, but it's important to understand that why there is a right brain, why there is a left brain, why there is a behavioral pattern. That's the core of learning and development. Everything else is process, and you will learn. But if and this is for the audience, if you're aspiring to be a learning and development professional, first thing you have to have a learning mindset yourself. And this is one book that is, it can be read over probably 30 minutes, but it can be read over 30 years. One just keeps going back. What programs would you be doing? Any program that helps you build samples about human behavior. Any program that helps you build what are the different preferences that people have, human beings have. So, now I think even a lot of youngsters get into mentoring and coaching, and why not? Reverse mentoring is a reality, speed mentoring is a reality, and anybody can be a mentor and coach. So invest in some of these. The programs that one can do, programs could be multiple ways. Like, if I want to specialize in content creation, then I would do a certain kind of programs. If I want to become a trainer, facilitator, then I would do different kind of programs. So please ask the why, find out your why. And I'm borrowing this from Simon Sinek. Some of you who would have heard him, he always says that it's important to focus on what is your why. So why you want to be the learning and development professional, which part of learning and development, and hence look up. There is so much available on the net today to skill, reskill, and upskill oneself. So that's my limited thing. I refrain from being prescriptive about this program and this, but I can't refrain myself from recommending The Little Prince to any and every person whom I meet on this earth who has not read it. So please read. You will know a lot about L&D that even any programs can't really teach. And Pooja, some other time we must talk about our our love for The Little Prince.
Little Prince. Yeah, every time you read it, there is something new you see in the book, which you hadn't seen it in your previous reading. Chela, one last question I would like to ask you is, would you advise employees to be generalists today or specialists? Do you skill towards becoming subject matter experts, or you should, diversify your learning to be able to do different kind of roles?
Great question. And I'm sure Sudakshana will be the right person to answer this, but I will take a shot from my personal journey. The trend is be a COE, a center of excellence, be a specialist, and then you become eligible for generalist in some industries, especially in the HR space, right? In some industry, I've seen, people continue to be in this specialist area because they become so specialist that they are not able to, they fall into their own trap. They're unable to come out, right? Like talent acquisition, you see a lot of people start their career as talent acquisition, they become specialist and they become super specialist, and then they continue with that. But there are cross movements happen. In my case, I started as HR generalist, and today I'm talking to this audience as a specialist, right? I've gone into the L&D space. I've been a generalist and tried many things, and then I've gone into the specialist role. But I might come back to generalist again. So the answer is, there is no path which decides your success. It is your aspiration and your commitment that decides the success. You can be anywhere as long as you're ready for that role, as long as you want to create an impact. So focusing on impact and creating a value is what will make us successful.
This has definitely been an insightful session. We could go on for a little longer, but I'm conscious of the time. I would like to thank the panelists for being here and sharing their experiences and knowledge with us. Thank you, audience, for being a wonderful audience. Your questions were amazing. Thank you for sharing them. I would like to conclude by saying, undeniably, digital learning platforms such as LXP empowers learners through intelligent and extravagant offerings in heterogeneous formats and sizes, capturing their attention and motivating them to discover more. Thank you from Team ETHR World.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye. Please take care.
Bye.